I'd like to share a really fascinating, compelling story with everybody about glyphs and the Sasquatch people and how they leave glyphs anywhere. They can leave them in a parking lot 300 miles away from your home. They can leave them actually in your house. They can leave them at your front door in your backyard. Of course, I find them everywhere in the woods. But basically, they can show up everywhere. And some of the more unusual places they show up are more unlikely places, or the most compelling. And, when they show up at your place of residence, it's always quite compelling, of course. And anyway, Sue and I were headed to my truck the other day from our apartment. We were headed out, and it's about a 400 or 500 yard walk or whatever to the parking lot, or not that far, a couple hundred yards. And so anyway, we headed there. Now, generally, when I go, there's a couple different places, or sorry, there's a couple different directions I could take to get to the car. And generally, 3 out of 4 times I will take the alternative route to the one I took that day. Is that a coincidence? I don't really believe in coincidences when talking about the Sasquatch people or even life in general. I mean, it's kind of the more awakened you get to what this beautiful world and who we are, this beautiful universe, I should say, the more you realize how synchronized things are, how connected things are, and how coincidence doesn't come into play as much. But in any event, so here we are. We were heading to the truck. And like I said, I followed Sue on the alternative route. I normally take the other one. But we were walking and came upon this glyph on the sidewalk. And there's an X and then 2 sticks lay beside it. Now, I don't know if those 2 sticks represent Susan and I. Could. We were walking along the path, one slightly ahead of the other. So the 2 sticks on the right could indicate that. And of course, on the left is their classic friendship welcome. So we looked at it and we thought, we've seen this kind of thing so many times before. And, generally we can tell if it's a random or made by kids. And I'd say that over 90% chance that this is Sasquatch made, almost definitely. Even Susan agreed, and she said 90%. And she really needs a good standard of proof. She uses a great deal of discernment, to put it that way. And so for her to be compelled is something else. And I use discernment too. A lot of the structures I come across, I don't automatically think Sasquatch made them because I know people make them. So I'm very discerning when it comes to that, and with glyphs as well. Glyphs are more compelling to me in many ways because the percentage of proof is so much higher. The odds of people going all over the world making the identical glyph for me is, well, quite frankly, absurd. I don't mean all over the world, but all across British Columbia and west coast of the United States. It just isn't happening. It's a fact. Sasquatch makes glyphs. So Sue and I were really, really compelled with this, and I thought, wow. And as usual, it's always wonderful, and it's an honor, and it feels beautiful when they acknowledge you and they let you know that they're around and that they care and they're watching over you, and that they're there to guide you. So the next day, we went back and we noticed it was different. What we saw was the thicker piece that formed the X was now over on the side of the sidewalk on the grass area. And there was a little thing wrapped up with a little pink hair rip, or what do you call them? The things you put in your hair for ponytails. Anyway, a little bouquet wrapped up with the thing you use for a ponytail, a little pink thing. It definitely did not look random. And we've seen this kind of bouquet kind of offering before, Sue and I, when we've gifted them. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And if you look, the bottom of it is put together like our fish glove. The fish glove, right on the bottom, if you notice, just below the pink, hairband is our fish glove, Susan and me, which represents her and I. Now, I've talked about this before. I understand maybe a dozen or so, or maybe more, maybe a few less, of the symbols and the letters that they use to communicate with me and with others. And the fish glove is one that is definitely for Susan and I. It's been used that way in many, many cases, and the circumstances, the timing, everything. Well, it's just kind of hard to explain because I'm walking this journey and I live it every day. So it's kind of hard to explain how I know that the fish cliff is ours, but believe me, it's the proof is overwhelming to me personally. And I'll just leave it at that. But that's what it means, and so it's kind of like a really beautiful greeting, and just recognizing us and our relationship, our bond, and their bond with us, and wrapped up in a little bouquet that just shows love. It's just so beautiful. So what I found really, really interesting about this is that on the first day when we saw this, I never noticed, or we never noticed, I should say, that the little pink bouquet, the wrap bouquet, was actually there. But we never noticed it. We never noticed it at all, which is kind of unusual. Because now that I'm looking at the picture, it stands out quite dramatically. So what I think happened, and this is very, very compelling, because this bouquet is a personal gift for Sue and I, something they definitely wanted us to see. And I believe that when we come across their creations and their glyphs, or something that they left for us, they're watching us observe them, because it's for us and they want to see our reaction. They want to see what we come up with, because it's all part of the lessons. So they're kind of like observing the student. And I definitely feel they were watching us. So this is compelling. So the big stick that forms the X was moved and was placed right beside the pink bouquet. Why? Because we'd never noticed initially. So they moved the stick over to it, so we would notice the change and then see the pink bouquet. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, does that make sense to you? I know that's what happened. I've got no doubt that's what happened. And it just hit me as I looked at the picture. When I looked at it, I initially didn't see that pink bouquet, and I was thinking initially that they had placed it there the next day, and I thought, oh, cool, that's pretty compelling. But the fact that the stick was placed or moved and placed beside it because we didn't notice it is even more compelling. Think about it. This is Sasquatch stuff. I really don't think kids did this. As a matter of fact, I'd say that almost slim to none chance that kids did this. It's just too personal, too many things I recognize, uh, and just the subtle ways that they showed me, or not so subtle ways they showed me that this is their creation. Um, the biggest of which was when they moved the stick over to the pink bouquet. Now, another thing that I found very interesting is that I reenacted what would have happened. So I walked by the glyph, and I do not think that there's any way possible that the stick was just like brushed up, and somebody hit it with their foot and it went over there, because nothing else was moved at all. I tried to reenact it, and I can't see that happening. The only way I can see that stick moving is by it being picked up and placed by the pink bouquet for the purpose of showing us what they initially wanted to show us. I cannot see it moving there without the other stuff moving a little bit, at least changing somewhat. So really compelling stuff, really beautiful stuff. And I'm always grateful for this connection with them. Always grateful for the teachings, always grateful for the love, the support, the family connection, the universal connection, all that stuff. And yeah, so this was a very, very magical experience. The kind of stuff that Sue and I have a lot. This one I kind of liked. It was kind of neat. And I think the most interesting and fascinating aspect of it, and most compelling, and my favorite aspect, is them moving the stick to point out the pink bouquet that they initially left for us, that we neglected. So thanks for listening. And Sasquatch people are beautiful people. Go out there and just say, hey, go out in the woods, say, hey, I'd like to connect with you. Open up your heart, no agenda. Maybe play some music, that kind of stuff, high vibrational stuff, singing, laughing, and see what happens. But an open heart is the way to connect with them, not with a game cam and tracking them. That's something that they consider disrespectful. So if you want to connect with the Sasquatch people, you have to do it on a relationship basis, just like you would any other normal human being. When you approach a human being and you shake their hand and say, hey, I'm Brian, I'd like to introduce myself, and do it respectfully, that's the way to start a relationship. So that's my advice, and thank you for listening.